welcome to Sports Counsel, your playbook for all things sports. I am your host, Matt, and I'm here with Dylan and G for this episode of the show. The fantasy football season is just a month away, which means the time for fantasy drafts are in full swing. For all you first-time fantasy football players, we'll discuss some basic do's and don'ts to drafting your fantasy team. Plus, we'll debate and rank who we think the top 12 fantasy players should be on your draft board for the first round. Today is August 4th, 2025, and this is episode 179 of the show.
Hey, top 12, no Big 12.
No Big 12.
Bars. Sorry, I really tried to do something with the Big 12, and I couldn't think of anything, so that's the best I got. But good to see you guys. Good to be back. It's that time again.
Back-to-back podcast, man.
Back-to-back.
Dude,
Told you.
Know we're back.
Full swing. Weekly episodes. We're going to get you
Super
ready
Bowl.
for this. Until the Super Bowl, until we die. It's like,
Okay.
God, 6 months.
That
Yeah,
was a
we
little
do that.
morbid, but I guess that is partially true.
Till we die.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, this is the 2025 Fantasy Football Draft Primer. Like we said last episode, when we kicked it off with our mock draft, we are going to be doing weekly episodes all the way up to your fantasy football drafts and when the season begins, and then we'll be doing our regular season coverage from there. But right now, in this month of August, we're kind of just making sure that you are ready for your fantasy football drafts this season. And before we get started on all of those topics that I just discussed, we are Sports Counsel. And G, where can they find Sports Counsel?
That's a great question. I have a great answer for that. Sports Counsel can be found on all your big social media. So I'm talking Twitter, I'm talking X, I'm talking Instagram, I'm talking Threads, I'm talking TikTok. We got it all. We're sports_counsel on all those social medias. So easy to find us. It's the same thing. Just copy and paste on all your medias and follow us. We'll follow back most likely too. We're good people, man. But we're on all your social medias, even Facebook for my old heads out there. And the best part is with all our social media, you're going to find our Discord link in the bio. Go to the bio, click the link, join our Discord. That's the best place to have our conversations. That's where you're going to find all the biggest and most important updates. Foreshadowing. But if you're ever interested and want to have questions, especially when the season comes and you're like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know who to start, they're questionable, that's where you come to us. You let us know. We'll help you. We'll straighten out your lineup. We're available 24/7. This is Sports Counsel. And Matt, what's so important about our Discord?
Well, G, I mean, other than the fact that you're going to get some great advice personally from all of us here on the podcast, you know, we don't just do the podcast, we're just answering your questions daily on, you know, the Discord, but there is going to be a very, very special link that will be sent out very soon. It will be to our Listener League, which is a fantasy football league that we run with our listeners every year, and we play with them. Well, that came out wrong. That came out very wrong.
Wow.
Heard it when I said it.
Let me take over. Let me take over
This is the
here.
last podcast now. This is going to be our final podcast.
Whoa.
We do fantasy football with our listeners. That sounds even weirder. Okay, well, if you
We
want to
play
fantasy football
the
with
game of fantasy football with the listeners of the podcast. We never play together
with the podcasters.
in person.
Virtually, you can play fantasy football with us in our own league. We're going to talk about that league week after week on the podcast with updates. So, you know, it's exciting. And most of the time, we always try to get all of our listeners on the podcast. So if you're like, damn, I really want to be on their podcast, easiest way is to get on the listener league. Wait for your invite. Now you're automatically on the podcast, and we're going to have a great time. And I know you want to join. Come on, who doesn't want to be famous on our league?
I mean, after that intro, I don't know who wouldn't want to join. So,
Who doesn't want to play with us?
yeah, who doesn't? Well,
We get Dylan
details
to play
in
with
our
us
very,
every
very
year.
legal Discord. So,
Yes.
We're
that
doing
was a
great,
long way to
guys.
say,
I need this-
check out the Discord.
I think we're a little off season. The rust is a little there. Maybe just a tad. We'll get better,
Yeah,
guys.
we look
trust
like
me.
Caleb Williams in training camp, huh?
I heard a lot about that, but
Or Tyreek in training camp and calling everyone out.
and then not
Calling
showing
out
up.
the coach.
Well, with that being said, we're kicking it off with is this technically our second part of the primer? The mock draft is one.
Yeah, let's just say that if you didn't start off with the mock draft, I mean, you can go ahead and listen to that. But we're
Are
primarily
you
going to be
really playing
discussing.
fantasy football if you didn't start off with the mock draft? Come on.
You got to get all the content, honestly. But just in case you didn't, this is for, very first time. You've just joined fantasy football, maybe in your office leagues, or maybe your friends invited you to join it, and you're like, sure, I'll do it, but you have no idea what you're talking about, right? Maybe you've watched football before. Maybe you haven't even watched football at all for like years or ever in your lifetime. Well, my friends, this is exactly what you need because we're starting off from the very beginning with our basics, and then as the episodes progress over the month, we will get you even more into it, and then by the time the regular season comes, you're going to be loving it. You're going to be looking at all the ADPs, you're going to be looking at all the stats, points per game, you're going to know exactly what PPR and like the waiver wire is going to be like. So we're going to start off with the very basics though today, and it's the do's and don'ts of fantasy football drafting. We kind of came up with a couple of do's and don'ts in terms of like how you want to approach your draft, and we're just going to discuss it a little bit, make sure that we all agree, because we're friends here on this podcast, but we're not always on the same page. So let's start off. And this is a combination of stuff that I've pulled from our lovely AI friend Gemini, as well as kind of the own advice that we've gotten for the past couple of years. By the way, if we want to, say our credentials real quick, like how long have you guys been playing fantasy football for? Just to give them a little introduction.
I got to be at least 10 plus years now.
For me, I think our last year of college, so I would say 4 years.
Yep. And for me, I think I'm in the 10 to 12 year range, right? So, I mean, we've all won championships before. We've all done this year over year. G actually just won our last listener league. Dylan won our first listener league championship. So there you
I'm
go.
still waiting on my ring to be sent from Matt, but, this podcast hasn't
it's coming.
generated enough money, I guess.
If you want to donate to the cause, we'll set up a Patreon.
For G's Championship 2024 Sports Counsel Championship ring, yes, please.
Didn't Gav win 1 year?
Did he win the...
He won the year before I did.
He did. I think you remember that
He beat
one
me in
well.
the finals.
Yep.
Yes, unfortunately. And so we're going to go right into our do's and don'ts.
Let's start off with
Kick
the
us
first
off, Matt.
do.
What's your favorite? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I think you should do is you should do a mock draft. You should definitely do mock drafts. That's why we started off the fantasy draft primer with the mock draft, and that's probably what we'll be doing for the entire month, right? And mock drafts are kind of just like a simulation of kind of how the draft would go, what you should expect, like how the players will be selected off the board. And honestly, it's just super easy to run. If you go to Sleeper, if you go to NFL.com, like any platform that hosts fantasy football will allow you to mock draft. And it will just, if you've never done it before, it's just a good way to actually just understand how it works. But it's also
through
a good
the
way,
motions.
yeah, it's a good way to kind of just understand, okay, exactly how these players are being drafted, what players are being drafted, right?
Yeah, and you definitely want to just, like I said, go through the motions, understand like what happens when you click on the player, like what are the player's ADPs, getting a little bit more into like the nitty gritty there, but you kind of want to just have a general feel of it. You know what I mean? It's like stretching before you go on your run, right? You don't want to just go straight into it, pull something, miss something, in our case, we might miss a player we really wanted. They might overdraft a player, whatever it is. You got to test it, right? And it's the best way, especially when you join those like Yahoo and NFL.com ones where you got real people you're drafting against. It's great, because you never know what's going to happen, and one draft can never be the same as the next. One guy might take this guy way earlier, way later, different positions, especially for a lot of you guys that, don't know your draft positions like I or have multiple draft positions. You got to practice from all different positions, and they definitely would do as many mock drafts that make sense for you.
Yep. Let's start off with another do here. Do draft wide receivers and running backs early. So if you really don't know what fantasy football is about, let's take it all the way back from the beginning here, and it's primarily based on offenses, right? You get a quarterback, you get a running back, you get wide receivers, you get a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. And the most important positions in fantasy football isn't what's going to match NFL football, which is quarterback. It's going to match, how the rules and rosters are going to be set, which is running backs and wide receivers. You get 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers at least in your starting lineup most of the time. So the most important position that you need to draft is wide receivers and running backs because they're the most prevalent in your starting lineup, so you have to be drafting them. quarterback and tight end, we'll go over it in another episode, but they're not as important because you only have to start one of them each, right? And then there's only so many quarterbacks and tight ends out there. But if each player gets at least 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, and there's at least 10 of you, that's already 20 wide receivers and starting running backs already full. So then it starts to get really, really hard to find running backs and wide receivers later. So that's why you see at every mock draft and every place you're going to get, every big board you're going to see, it's going to primarily consist of running backs and wide receivers. Don't make the mistake that Gav did in his first fantasy football league, which, coincidentally was our league, where he drafted with the 3rd overall pick, Mr. Thomas Edward Brady with the 3rd overall pick. And he was subsequently mocked and laughed at, and he proceeded to lose that year because, first of all, Tom Brady was not a very good fantasy quarterback. Even though he's a great winning quarterback, you'll see that happens a lot of the time. And secondly, quarterbacks are not that valuable. So make sure to draft a running back and a wide receiver early, and we'll tell you who to draft later.
Do you prefer having a 2 wide receiver or 2 running back, or you like to split 1-1 each?
That's where it comes down to some nuance of what does the draft board look like? What does it make more sense of? So that's where I would kind of just keep things open, but I would keep a ballpark of my first 5 picks. I want to make sure I have 2 running backs, regardless of what else, right? My first 3-4 picks, I want to have at least 1, right? I want to make sure you're getting the top tier of guys, right? That's why, you want to make sure you prioritize those. And then kind of want to hop into the don't side of things as well. I don't want to be the guy that's kind of like the negative Nancy, but we got to talk about the do's and the don'ts, right? So my don't would be, don't be the guy that drafts the defense and the kicker early. There's no need. And most of the time, the kicker and the defense that are getting drafted early don't even pan out. You know what I mean? Last year, everybody wanted to take Justin Tucker early, and now he's not on the roster. And then, for the most part, it was 9 years before
not
that.
A little different, but yeah.
Why is he not on the roster?
We sucked last year too, though. He wasn't very good.
I thought we were talking about the other thing, but yeah.
No, not yet. But he did turn into Deshaun Diddler, but that's for a different case. Yeah, don't be that guy. I don't think I'm going to get too much pushback from Matt and Dylan on this, but I think that's one of the biggest. I've filled up my starting lineup. Let me go ahead and draft a defense or a kicker. Don't do that. It don't make a difference. You'd rather have a guy on the bench.
Yeah. Okay. Big thing is that you have a starting lineup, but you don't have to just fill each part of the lineup and then oh, my quarterback's empty. Now I need to draft a quarterback in the 6th round. You don't have to do that. Just keep on just drafting, running backs and wide receivers. Keep spamming it. You can wait all the way till the last round to draft a defense. Don't feel like you have to draft someone in the position just because it's empty for you at the time, right?
I totally agree on that, yeah. And then, Dylan, why don't you give us one of your don'ts?
For one of my don'ts, don't draft 2 wide receivers from the same team. I remember my first season playing in the Sports Counsel League. I drafted Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, yes. And Julio Jones is on his way out. And you get into that dilemma of since they both share the same quarterback, basically your ceiling is halved because you could have used that 1 pick for a different wide receiver who can also be popping off in a different game with another quarterback. And there's going to be days where you have to either think about should I insert or should I put in Calvin Ridley or should I put in Julio Jones in my starting lineup? So it's best not to take 2 wide receivers from the same team.
Yeah, there's only so much offense that you can get from one team. So that's another recommendation overall. Just don't draft everyone from the same team, even if you think they're really good. If the Chiefs offense, they're really, really good back in the day, right? Tyreek, Mahomes, Kelsey, right? And you could technically draft them and maybe you do well with that, right? But your entire performance basically depends on the Chiefs' performance that week. And if they have a bad week, then you have a really bad week, right? So it's especially with, Dillon, it's Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. Let's say the ball gets thrown 20 times, right? Maybe 8 of them will go to Ridley, maybe 8 of them will go to Julio. But what if you could have drafted I don't know, a Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, and he gets the ball 10 times, right? Because there's no way that the other guy's going to take any of it, right? And who cares if they take it? Because your guy, you have 2 guys from different teams and they both get a good amount of targets, right? You're capped inherently, right?
But I want to be the guy that kind of pushes back on this. There is one situation. It's called a stack.
Yes.
When you have the quarterback and either the wide receiver or the tight end, depending on the team, and then they're both great. And that works because one's throwing the ball to the other. But I think definitely push back on the run. I would agree on the running back, wide receiver, or double wide receiver, tight end. Only time you should have two players from the same team is you have the quarterback and then the wide receiver / tight end for it. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. That's great. Now, I'm not going to lie. That might turn me on a little bit. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, that's also, you could push my tush with that one. But, you don't want to be the guy with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins or Godwin and Evans or whatever the case is, right? So don't do that. Let's flip it back to maybe one of the do's. One of my favorite do's and kind of something a little, out there is do make sure you backstab your friends in the sense of like, if you know you in mock drafting with the guy, or you just know a guy's favorite player is up there, like for example, my good friend is a Raiders fan. And if I have the pick before him and we're in like the early second round or something and Brock Bowers is sitting there, and he's right behind me, I might just take him, you know what I mean? Like just to screw him over. And maybe it's not only funny for 5 minutes, but hey, that's the whole point of this. We are taking low blows. We're going dirty, going for the knees. You know what I mean? We're not here to make friends. Yeah,
fantasy football
you
is
are
a
owner of a
ruthless
team.
thing. It's a ruthless landscape.
Yes.
No friends. Like take no prisoners. Like literally, just it does not matter. Everyone understands the rules of the game, which is it's fantasy. Do whatever you want.
You use them to your advantage. You don't have to be the one that doesn't use them, right? Like the guy's there, you take them. You want some, take them extra a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's okay.
Maybe we're just bad people, but I mean, I feel like that's how the universal law of fantasy is. Like that's from my entire experience. It's always been that way, right?
My thing is only one person's going to win, but that doesn't stop me from homing the other 10 people in the league. So
even if you're not in the running, you still ruin your friend's day. You'll get that soon enough. Yeah. I do want to point out, because that reminds me of another Jew. Do you understand the people you're drafting with? Like, when you said like they're a Raiders fan, they're more likely to be biased and take players like Bowers maybe earlier because they feel like they understand. If you feel like you know your friends that are drafting or your coworkers or whatever, and you know what they're doing, use it to your advantage, right? If you're on the board and your next pick isn't in the next like 10 picks, right? So you really like this one guy, but you know this other guy that you like is going to be taken by the time you get back because you know one of your friends really likes it. Maybe you should take that player. You got to think a little bit about, the people that you're drafting with. Make sure you play it to your advantage as well.
Like last year when I did to Matt.
Which one did you take from me, Dylan? Which one did you take this time?
I don't know. It's someone from your young men's club. Odds.
This is a very risque episode so far.
This might be the last one.
All right. Well, I do want to point out one. I saw this one on Gemini. Don't draft with your heart. I'm assuming they mean be a homer, but I mean, I feel like that one I feel like you can do. Like if you feel like you have a gut instinct about someone, right?
Reasonably.
Yeah.
Reasonably.
What do you mean by reasonably? Like, is there a certain round that you like threshold that you?
No, I think it's not a threshold. I think it's like an ADP threshold. Like I'm not, because I'm a Niner fan, I'm not taking CMC 101. Like that just logically doesn't make sense, right? Like, or if I'm a Lions fan and Jamar Chase is there and Amon-Ra, they're the best two receivers, I'm not taking Amon-Ra over Jamar Chase, But if I'm like the end of the first round and I'm like, ooh, I'm a huge Eagles fan and AJ Brown is still there, like, and what's the other option? Like Malik Neighbors, and you think he's better than like, and he's your favorite player or something, then that's cool. And I think that's definitely more reasonable. But I wouldn't go too far, past what their ADP is, just because the only reason you have is they're on my favorite team.
And I think that brings up another point in the do's and don'ts is do/don't, I said, follow ADP, the big boards, and the point projections. So just a little sneak peek of what you're going to be seeing when you mock draft or draft. There's going to be a big board of players, and they're going to rank them in a certain order, right? Let's say Jamar Chase is first, Christian McCaffrey second, whatever. And a lot of people base their kind of opinions on that board because they say, oh, this is the 52nd ranked best player, I should just take them over the 56th ranked best player, right? I think in a way you should do that, and you should make sure that you're around the kind of range of the ADP, because a lot of people follow it, even if they don't necessarily agree. They just think these are the top players on the board. These are the only choices that I have, right? We're not looking through the entire catalog here. So I would suggest you follow the ADP in a way that you take a look at the best couple players on the board and kind of make your decision based off that, but don't make it your gospel, right? Don't just pick a player just because they're that high. Try to form a little bit of an opinion on them. See, understand again, the kind of players that you're playing against, what you still need. Just make it a whole kind of diverse kind of opinion before you just go ADP. Because sometimes you're just going to miss on a lot of gems, or you're not even going to realize the player that you liked is actually just a little bit below that ADP, but you didn't see it because you're just at a certain number and you only see the top 3 players, right?
So, G, since we're on this topic, would you take DK Metcalf?
Reasonably. I wouldn't take him earlier than necessary. I mean, he's not in that great of a situation, but I am forced to like him, so...
What do you mean forced to like him? You're not a homer of the Steelers anymore.
I'm
still a Steeler fan overall. It's just a 1-year break. You know what I mean?
Gotta make your decision soon. Who's your situation?
It's coming out one of these podcast episodes.
Let's see. The decision.
It's bigger than LeBron's decision, they say.
The streets have been saying that. I want to point out one more. Don't draft the same way in these mock drafts every time. Try to mix it up a little bit because they're practice. You might want to go okay, let's try a running back, wide receiver. I'll draft 2 running backs first, then 2 wide receivers, then a running back, then another wide receiver, and just see how that plays out. And then take a look at your roster, see, okay, do I like that, or should I try something else? Should I try 2 wide receivers first? Should I try a wide receiver, then a quarterback, and just play around with it? Because if you draft the exact same way every time, it's probably not going to look exactly what it's going to look like when you actually draft, and then you're going to panic, and then you're going to make dumb decisions, and then you're going to end up with a miserable roster, and you're going to hate yourself for the next 3 months. Trust me, we've been there before. So that's something I also want to point out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think with these mock drafts, right, you want to be outside your comfort zone, right? You want to try things that you haven't done before in your previous experiences playing fantasy football. It's similar to life, right?
I was about to say, that's a very that can be taken anywhere.
Just trying to meet new people out there, right?
Yeah, new people
that you never met in your life.
Yeah, it doesn't just have to be relationships. It could just be friends. You know?
Yeah, it can be friends. And that's that.
What the fuck, dude? Let's get back to the fantasy football here.
Fantasy is life.
What about my fantasies?
Oh, wow.
Last but not least, don't let the experts make all the decisions for you. 3 podcasters, right?
I remember a few years ago, you were really relying on that fantasy guru guy.
You get to a point in your fantasy football career where you have a crisis in faith about yourself, and you're just all these experts, they should know better than me, so why don't I just follow them? But if you follow them and you don't actually believe it yourself, and then eventually someone's going to end up wrong, not everyone's perfect, then you're going to hate yourself, and you're going to be why did I even listen to this guy? I didn't even have faith in it myself. Above all else, just follow your heart. Follow what you believe in and what your analysis is telling you, and you'll probably be much happier because you'll win your way and you'll lose your way, but at least you won and lost on your own terms, right? You guys agree or not? I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't go listen to nobody except Sports Counsel, because how do you know they're going to be right? We're going to be right.
Yeah,
we're 100% right.
Yeah, we're always right.
But everybody
just
else
gotta go down swinging.
That's not legally binding, by the way. But yeah, that was some do's and don'ts for your basic draft strategy. Let us know if you have anything for us and if you kind of want to bounce off some ideas. We also do offer mock drafts in our Discord channel. We're always on. So if you want to mock draft with us and kind of, practice how you would approach your drafting and how we would do it, come to the Discord. Check it out.
See us. Let's get it done.
Yeah, we don't play around there. All right. On to the second segment of our episode. We are going to be sorting out the first round of, the 2025 draft. Like we said, Sleeper, Yahoo Fantasy, ESPN, they all have their big board, which is a bunch of players that recommended that you take first overall, second overall, whatever. We're going to be building our own big board today. We're just going to do the first round. We're not going to be here for the next 2 hours doing 200 players. But we're going to take... We could, but maybe next time. We're just going to do the first round for now. We got some of the best running backs, the best wide receivers, a couple quarterbacks and tight ends as well, just to mix it up and see how we feel about it. And we're going to see if we agree, first of all, on how we would rank them 1 through 12 in terms of how we would draft them. And then we're going to compare it to Sleeper's big board and see how accurate we are. And whether, we agree.
First of all,
yeah.
Is Lamar Jackson not drafted that high?
Do you really think he should be drafted 12? 1 through 12?
Absolutely not.
I see the discussion's already begun.
Absolutely the fuck not.
I'll give every listener here some context on who we have right now in terms of just the big pile of players on our doc sheet right now. So at quarterback we have Josh Allen, and I guess we're going to insert Lamar in here. At running back, we have about 10 names: Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Jeanty, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams. Wide receiver, we have 10 names as well: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas, A.J. Brown, and Drake London. And at tight end, we have Brock Bowers. So this is kind of the consensus top players right now. But again, we're only going to be ranking up to 12 of them. It's going to be hard, but we'll see.
Let's start with one. I think let's start from the top. It should be easy. I feel like I'm thinking 1-1's got to be Jamar Chase, right?
I agree. Did he win the Triple Crown, right? He won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, he won the Triple Crown, yeah. And I feel like he's still in his prime, so there's not like a Cooper Kupp thing where you're like, oh, maybe there's going to be a fall off or something, after he won his Triple Crown. I thought this one, it's like there's a great chance he could repeat. He could at least put up, similar to, easy, first round value numbers. And I think with your first pick, also kind of just more about draft strategy. Mm-hmm. You just don't want to lose your draft with, I'm going to take CMC first. He's always good when he's healthy or something, and then pass up a Jamar Chase. You can't.
The first round is all about playing not to lose.
And also Jamar, I believe he has to have to do a contract this year, right? So the diva side doesn't have to come out.
And Burrow's there, he's there, they're all there at training camp. So maybe they'll do special thing. Maybe week 1 they won't be ass.
No, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be ass. But I mean, the rest of the other 15 weeks they'll be fine.
That's a Zach Taylor question.
No, I agree. I mean, again, consistency is key. Jamar Chase, he's going to get the targets because Burrow loves him. He's an elite wide receiver. It's hard to see a fault. But another superstition that you might want to have is that you don't want to have the first overall pick because that usually does not end up well.
No, I don't believe that. No, don't believe that.
Okay, go ahead.
Draft smart.
Take it.
I'll take it, yeah. Give me Jamar Chase. What the fuck?
Okay, at number 2, I think it's going to be a little bit hard of a conversation. I mean, does anyone want to nominate anyone before we kind of discuss?
Yeah, how many people can we nominate?
Nah, one person.
One person. Ooh.
I'm nominating Saquon Barkley.
Oh, I was gonna go with that. Yes, Saquon.
Okay.
I was debating between Saquon or Justin Jefferson.
Same here.
I was debating between Saquon and Bijan Robinson, but I agree with you guys in terms of Saquon. Like, I don't like that everyone feels like they're fading him because there's something called regression. They keep saying regression. And regression, is just like, he had such a great year last year. There's no way he repeats that, right? But I feel like Saquon's a huge part of that offense and they run it to him all the time. And it's not like he is just, getting all these carries and now they're not going to give him carries. He's getting these carries and then he just breaks out into this huge 80-yard touchdown. Bam, like that. Maybe it's not always going to happen every time, but I feel like that explosiveness doesn't just go away immediately, right? These high-scoring plays are high-scoring plays because he's that good. It's not about just opportunity. Like, he's going to get less opportunities, yeah, but he still could break one out for an 80-yard touchdown, and he's going to score 14 points just off that, right? That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I it is like you kind of are betting on more, I guess, with the Saquon Bijan conversation, like surety versus potential, right?
I mean,
And I like what I saw last year. That's all I'm gonna say.
what do you mean? When he won the Super Bowl? Yes.
Yes, and on his legs. So I think he can do something similar.
Well, to be fair, he's on the Madden cover.
Hey,
He also
instead
was
of
on the
jumping
Madden
over
cover.
one guy, he's gonna jump over, or was he backward jumped one guy, or he
Yeah.
jumped backwards? Yeah, he's gonna do that twice next season.
Oh, wow.
Well,
The bold
over half
prediction
of
right there.
should take that on Prize Picks.
By the way,
I bet
guys,
there is one.
Don't. So I love people when people join our Discord. I feel like I have to address this. Join our Discord, please. If you are not a bot trying to promote gambling or something, not just gambling, because we love gambling actually, promoting your gambling. We don't want to see your weirdo Prize Picks channel or gambling Discords on there. So stop joining our Discord if you're there to promote.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Rant over.
30-second ad break. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, we got Chase, we got Quads. We're at 3 here, and I think we have the 2 names we're between here. I think it's Bijan and Jettis, right?
That's what I think.
I'm taking
yeah.
Jettas.
Really?
I'm taking Jettas.
You're not
I
afraid
don't care.
that, one, J.J. McCarthy is now the quarterback, and two, he has a hamstring injury right now in training camp. And hamstring injuries, they kind of last. I don't like that.
It's Jettas, dude. It's Jettas. JJ's gonna throw it. He's gonna tell Jettas, go get it. And he's gonna get those. He's gonna get all those receiving yards.
You
Versus
believe?
Bijan. I don't know if even Atlanta gotten better ever since last season with the new coach.
Yeah,
And the new quarterback now.
but I feel like Penix is better than Kirk, right? But I mean, yeah, I mean, JJ to JJ, is that what you believe in then, Dylan?
JJ
Man,
squared.
as a potential tiebreaker here, I'm not gonna lie. I think I might have to go Bijan.
Aha.
Even though I really like
No.
Jettis, but the running back is just hard to pass up in my opinion. And I don't think the next position it should be a debate. Then I think we have to put Jettis as 4, right?
Yeah. It's Bijan, the one, Robinson. You like that?
No, I think
No.
you
It's going to
probably
stick.
shouldn't do that
It's
again.
going to stick. Bijan,
I like Bijan Mustard
the
better than
Juan.
that.
Bijan mustard.
Yeah, you don't get
Not
it.
even yellow anywhere on his jersey or anything. What does that mean?
But like it's like what's it called, Dijon mustard or something?
Yeah, but I mean,
What the then if you know, then why are you asking me?
huh? What are you
It's
talking?
better than your nickname.
Bijan the one, as in
Yeah,
the
I
RB
used to-
one.
That sucks.
No.
No. What is this fucking
What are you
Dr.
talking
Seuss
about?
fantasy football?
James the Flames Robinson.
Who's in the
Just
graveyard?
because you say their names like weird sounding doesn't make it any cooler.
Actually, it does.
No one says Robinson. Like, what are we doing?
Robbins. Whatever. Okay, let's digress.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we got Chase, Barkley, Bijan, Jettis, and now we're at the 5th pick. What's
man.
our mindset here? We got CD, CMC, Gibbs.
I
For
want
me,
to
I wouldn't trust the CD Lamb. I would
really.
go between Gibbs or Amon Ra.
Wow,
No, I'm not putting Amon Ra up here.
that's crazy.
What?
Not
think-
before CD.
I think it's CD Lamb because one thing is that stability is something great about fantasy football. When you can have sometimes you want stability if they're actually a good player and they've had good performances. Sometimes you want change because they are in a bad position and you expecting them to get better after the change. CD, they didn't really change that much in Dallas. They upgraded they promoted their offensive coordinator, Schottenheimer, to head coach. Dak is still there, right? Pickens will be there and he'll take some targets away, but I think this Dallas offense is still going to pass a lot because they don't have any running backs, right? So I think CD is going to be fine. I think he's still going to get everything he did when he was the top wide receiver last year and the year before that. Gibbs, I'm a little worried about because they lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, right? He'll probably get more carries because of Montgomery. They think that he'll have less of a load, but I don't think there's anything that actually makes that true. Right, I feel like we say that every year, and then Monty gets a lot of touchdowns anyway. So, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I think CD is 5 to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's CD as well. I think it's two for sure, not for me to pass up here. And if I were to pass him up, I wouldn't pass him up for Amon-Ra St. Brown's. I'll tell you that much.
But wasn't Amon-Ra last year lighting it up too?
I feel like
Yes,
he's consistent, but not spectacular, if that makes sense.
And I don't like CD, man. He's going to be so good this year. And I like one other player more than Amon-Ra, and that's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. How are you guys feeling about him? They're saying he's getting all the first-team touches now. And, yeah.
No, I think he's great because, I mean, he's just a good player in general. And, again, you need running backs. Like, I don't know. I don't know about the offense yet. But I feel like when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs, at least we know he's going to get carries. Amon-Ra, it's not as guaranteed that he'll get targets. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he will, but I feel safer about Gibbs.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I just feel like, if the reports out of training camp are true, which can always be false, that if he's getting more of the first team touches, they're not always doing the first drive with David Montgomery. I felt like so many Lions games last year, the first drive, the whole Lions offense would never have Gibbs out there at the beginning part of the year, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now it's like if they can actually start the game with Gibbs and then work in Montgomery, which makes more sense, Gibbs should be, I think, just as good as Bijan Barkley. He just probably won't get the full amount of touches, which is why he's a little bit lower for me, but he should be just as efficient.
Yeah. I like our starting 6 so far. Chase, Barkley, Robinson, Jefferson, Lamb, Gibbs. I think that's a solid start. I think I would take all of them in a heartbeat. Now we get into a little bit more of a difficult range where it gets a lot more subjective, I think. These aren't as clear superstars as we think, right? So
yes, I agree with you on that. So how are we going to come to a settlement here?
I know by default, because Dillon, you nominated Amon-Ra, he should be in consideration. But I do want to take a look at, there's some running backs that I really like here. And there's actually another wide receiver name that I also want to point out here. G, why don't you nominate your guy first?
Oh, man, that's a tough question you asked there, Matty, old boy. I'll nominate the fallen soldier himself, no Achilles, double Achilles trouble, Mr. CMC. I just think if he's healthy, which they're saying, all reports at training camp are coming in. Obviously, we live in the Bay Area. We hear a lot more of these training camp reports from the Niners. Every one of their fans sends me this crap. So they're saying he's healthy. He's looking good. I like it. I really do. I think CMC could have that bounce back year. And, he's had his time off. So I feel like why not, right?
Ooh. He's a dad.
Get the dad power right there. You know why he's a dad?
Better. I didn't even know that.
Do you know why he's a dad? Because his
penis had semen in it.
Wait. Well, it's true. But that's not really what I was thinking.
Oh.
CMC's getting old, guys. Don't you think? He's getting a little old.
I think this could be one of his last productive years. And I think with him, it's like a lot of it is he's going to get 4 to 5 catches a game, so...
That'll help some.
That's very safe. He's going to get touchdowns. He's going to get catches. And, production and a very high efficient offense. You know what I mean? So those 3 things alone is good enough. Now, whether he's going to have 1,600 rushing yards and 800 receiving yards, I don't think so. Obviously, that's why he's not 101 anymore. But I still think he's I just look at everybody else and I'm like, I'll risk it, man.
You know who I'm risking it for? I'm risking it for
Derrick Henry.
Well, that was one of my considerations. I really like Derrick Henry. I wouldn't put him as high as 7. I'm going to put a name out here that maybe is a reach.
Malik Neighbors?
No. I'm going Nico Collins. I'm going to shoot my shot. I think Nico, he was on a huge, great trajectory last year. He was in the top 5 in terms of wide receiver points per game. He got injured with an injury that I don't think will resurface. I think it was just kind of a short-term injury that kept him out for a couple weeks. But that's what kind of broke up the momentum there. And then everything kind of fell apart with the Texans this year. But they got a new offensive coordinator. He's from the Rams. The Rams are usually known for their high-powered offenses. He's still C.J. Stroud's favorite, number 1 wide receiver. And that team isn't good enough where I think that they're going to just be able to run the ball out. And they're not very good at running the ball anyway. Joe Mixon also, I think, is also banged up. So I feel like they're just going to keep airing it out. And I feel like Nico's going to take that leap. He's going to be that, he's going to get into that upper echelon. at this point. I feel like he has a higher ceiling than Amon-Ra. He may not have the higher floor, but I feel like he has the higher ceiling. And you want a little bit of upside in your players.
I like it. It just feels so risky at the same time, though.
But why is it risky?
All right, looking forward to see you draft Nico Collins at 7.
Because their offensive line is probably one of the worst in the NFL. No time means not going to be very quality of like what he's getting in terms of touches. Like, sure, he'll get like a lot of dump offs, a lot of short routes, but like the whole reason the CJ Stroud stuff was so magical his rookie year is because he was throwing the ball deep so much. So I feel like that aspect of the game gets eliminated kind of with no other real receiver and no time to throw the ball. So it's like, fuck, it just kind of scares me a little bit. Where I was just like, if I'm gonna take I like CMC, man.
I don't know, because I feel like, first of all, Texans O-line has been dog shit for the last 3 years, so I think can't get worse. 2, Niners offensive line is also dog shit. We didn't even try to replace our left guard this year, and our center is still our center. So, I will compromise and go with the safer floor of Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you agree with me.
Here we go.
Dylan didn't even have to make his case.
That's fine. We can give it to Dylan.
But
me personally, I'm not taking him 7th.
You're not? Then who would you take? You take CMC?
No, I mean, I collectively agree, and I would probably still take Collins and CMC and a couple other guys before Amon-Ra.
Then I don't think we have a consensus here.
No, I mean, for the sake of the list, I will allow it to be 7th. I just want to put my asterisk in there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, okay, Dylan, you're the tiebreaker between CMC and Nico. Who would be 8th?
8th? Ooh, that's tough. Honestly, when it comes for me lately, when I draft in the first round, I tend to pick wide receivers. So I would say Nico Collins.
Let's go.
Just because of that, I think right now how I feel about it is like, I feel like wide receivers, they have that slightly higher ceiling than a running back. Like,
no, I agree.
I don't know why. It's just, but I think it's just the amount of opportunities a wide receiver can do in a game is more than like a running back.
Yeah, and we'll discuss the whole wide receiver running back in another episode we have planned. But, I mean, one big thing in fantasy football right now is PPR, and it's points per reception. And that's why wide receivers are getting more valuable, is because if you get a point for every reception, guess who's catching the ball most of the time? It's the wide receiver. So that's why it's kind of getting more valuable, especially if you get like these target hogs, maybe an Amon-Ra St. Brown or CeeDee Lamb or Jefferson. If they get like 10 catches a game, that's already 10 points. You're already in double digits for your player right there. Versus, a running back, he has to hit 100 yards to get, 10 points. So that's kind of the rub right there.
It's a lot. It's fair. I mean, now you guys both got your guys. Can I get CMC at 9?
No. I'm going to nominate Derrick Henry for this spot.
he's like, fuck
no,
you.
We're not putting Derrick Henry above CMC.
Are you kidding me? But
No
Derrick
shot.
Henry, I feel like is still that guy. If CMC's still that guy, Derrick Henry, who actually did show he was that guy last year, should be in this, in this talk, because you're talking about CMC having to get back to form versus Derrick Henry staying in that form.
But the same thing applies to what the argument you made is like, okay, sure, CMC's not getting 10 catches, but he's getting 5. He's getting 6 a game. And what is Derrick Henry getting? 0? So I'm like, what am I relying on? Pure rushing upside, which is going to be nice, but it's not going to be super limited in terms of just there's no extra points being added on. And yes, he gets a lot of touchdowns, but also Lamar's a threat there. CMC, I don't have many other threats. The receiving core is cooked right now. Brock Purdy's not going to run too many in himself. The touchdowns are all his. The catches are all his. So I have such a safer floor there. Besides injury floor, that's a whole different conversation. But
I think injury should be in consideration because Derrick Henry is like a mountain of a man and he's super durable, and CMC is not as durable. And I mean that with all the love in my heart for my boy, but I still would take Derrick Henry over him. Dylan, tiebreak this.
I would pick CMC actually.
Fuck.
Because of the flexibility. The flexibility versus Derrick Henry.
You don't need no flexibility when he runs down your throat.
Wow,
But CSC has
that's fucking crazy.
What are you talking about?
But CSC
Okay,
has
well, are you talking about the phrasing there?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Took me a second.
But no, yeah. I honestly don't even want to give you Derrick Henry a 10 yet.
Okay, and you're gonna challenge me. Okay, so what are you
Yes,
gonna
I'm
go
going to do
with?
exactly. I got two guys that I'll go two guys actually. I'm one up you. I think there's two guys I'd put before him right here. I definitely put A-Chan above him, and I would think about putting Malik Neighbors there ahead of him as well.
Dude,
So
gosh.
let me make both my arguments here quickly. I think the Neighbors one is very simple. I think it's like just the absolute boatload of targets he's gonna get is just safe, and then also there's no real like I don't want to say he's quarterback proof, but like he didn't have good quarterbacks last year. Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and then someone else I don't remember, but 4 different quarterbacks threw to him last year. So I mean, you're taking Jameis. If he gets in there, you're legended. Russ, who's going to throw you a couple of deep passes a game at least, so he's got that for him, right? And then we got a rookie, we don't know. But at the end of the day, he played a similar situation to similar types of quarterbacks and stuff last year. So I think that's very safe. I like it. And at the end of this 10th year where I can still get one of the other running backs, I kind of like it, But if I'm going to go running back, I like A-Chan, man. It's got to be A-Chan for me. The speed is legendary. Just being able to break anything for a touchdown at any moment and still having the passing upside. For me, you guys can definitely tell I prioritize having that passing upside for my running backs because it gives us such a safer floor, And he's going to get so many touchdowns. He's like a young CMC almost,
A-Chan's like 1 inch taller than me.
But A-Chan has like 30, 40 more touchdowns than you, Matt.
It doesn't matter.
He runs faster than both of us. He is like,
I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, Dylan, do you have any players you want to nominate?
I was gonna say A-Chan, but I think I really like that Neighbors pick too. Like, I think it goes back to
Hey, what about
goes
Derrick
back
Henry?
to what we talked about. Like, no, Derrick Henry, man, he got a plate on his foot. But
what?
It's like what we went back earlier. What we talked about, like, you want to take risk, right? And I think one of those risks is Neighbors. And I think he's in a good position to be picked right now in the first round.
I'll give the drawbacks. I'm not saying, I hate the picks, but I'm just saying that when you reach the back half of the first round, all of these players come with something that you're concerned about, and that's why they're not all the way at the top. Neighbors, it's the uncertain quarterback situation. Russ might just be completely cooked at this point, and he can't see over the middle of the field, so that might not be good for Neighbors. But I do agree he's a target hog. A-Chan, I think that, like you said, G and Dillon, all the potential is there. He can break out at any time. I'm a little bit concerned about the targets, though, actually, because last year, Tua had no time with his offensive line, and he was just checking it down to A-Chan and Jonnu Smith the entire time, and that's how A-Chan got so many
might be
PPR,
worse this year.
Right? That's true, but I don't know if he would necessarily be getting all those checkdowns all the time, right? It's that regression that we're talking about.
I think I'll give you Henry at 10, I guess, because you made a fair argument for him multiple times. So I think in fairness, we can give you Henry at 10, and then
so what's the decision between Neighbors and A-Chan, because it seems like those are the two.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I kind of want to ask just to say we have mentioned some other guys. Do we have any other guys left for consideration here? I do want to, I don't want to be that guy. I mean, since I brought up the other two guys anyways, but Genty doesn't come up into this conversation. He definitely feels like a middle of the second, early second type of guy, just because I don't want my rookie to be my first, this kind of feels a little too risky. Bucky, the sexiest pick on the first round, man. You know what I mean? He's just, it's hard to say, why not Bucky here, right? I think the pass thing kind of scares me for Bucky. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think about Bucky? Does he belong in this conversation?
It's hard because I didn't actually have Bucky in a lot of leagues, so I don't actually know what. I'm sorry, I wasn't on the hype wagon as much. So I can't
Me either.
really,
I didn't have Bucky either, but the stats are ridiculous.
Yeah, the stats
for the amount of touches he has. The stats don't lie. The touches weren't there. So if you're just going on base, maybe there's a 10-15% efficiency drop, but then there's a 30% increase in lurk load. That's just it just still checks out, right? I guess that's like the full argument for Bucky, right? Even if he comes slightly more inefficient, there's just the expectation is that there's going to be so much more touches, hopefully some in the pass game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where I have my questions because I feel like Rashad White's still going to get a lot of those, unfortunately.
And I'll give 2 points. I'll give 2 points here. One for his downside, one for his upside. One, let's start with the worst part first, is that he lost Liam Cohen, which is his offensive coordinator. He went to Jacksonville. So maybe the next offensive coordinator isn't as good at scheming Bucky, or maybe he doesn't like Bucky as much, and he doesn't run him as much. But the other case that you can make is that Baker threw for so many touchdowns last year. He was passing a lot. I think that comes down a little bit. I think some of those passing touchdowns turn into rushing touchdowns, and I think there's a little bit more regression that can come Bucky's way. And he'll score more touchdowns. He might not get as many opportunities, but maybe he'll get more touchdowns. But I feel like the case will be that the offensive coordinator will know what he's doing, and he sees Bucky Irving there, and so he'll play him. So I don't really have that many concerns in terms of downside of like a changing offensive coordinator. Maybe he doesn't know how to use him as much, but I think Bucky's good enough as a player that he'll get those touches and he'll get those opportunities, right? So it's tough. It's really tough. I think I'd still go Neighbors, right? Are we still going Neighbors at 11?
I think that's a consensus. The only other person I really think that might have an argument is just BTJ and Brian Thomas Jr. because you could be like,
I like him, yeah.
He did just have a better season with a better quarterback, and now he has Liam Cohen. You know what I mean? But having Hunter there, and I think they're mainly using Hunter as wide receiver too, what the report said in the first depth chart, and he's going to be CB4. So if he's especially spending a lot of time on offense, he's going to be fucking a problem out there. So I think they got a lot of like 1A, 1B action rather than a 1-2 action, if that makes sense.
Who finished better last year? Was it Thomas or Neighbors?
Brian Thomas did, I think.
I might go Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm going Brian Thomas, actually. I'm switching. Because you know what?
I mean, I'm not mad with it.
Neighbors had this shoulder injury too, right? And he already re-aggravated it in training camp. So I'm going to go Thomas, honestly. Because you can make the same
so
argument,
Neighbors had more he was a wide receiver 4 and Neighbors was a wide receiver 6. But I think Neighbors did miss a game or two last year if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Seattle and Cincinnati. And so I mean, obviously I think if he just plays the full season, he's going to get the 20-something points and probably be higher than him, But, hey, Mac Jones was throwing Brian Thomas the ball last year, and he went off. So, I feel like you should be just fine.
In terms of a target perspective, it's just like Neighbors got a lot more targets than Thomas. So, if you think that's going to hold up, I guess you would go with Neighbors. If you think that overall, I think Thomas still outscored Neighbors even with less targets, then you kind of, it's kind of splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine to just call it, BTJ Neighbors 11-12.
Any thoughts, Dylan?
Well, Puka.
You want Puka here? Make the case.
No, man, he's got the most competition. He's got the most competition, I think, because of Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams is too good to be wide receiver 2 and not too old to be wide receiver 1, if that makes sense. He's just a problem for that wide receiver core. He's gonna Puka still be good, but I feel like Adams got to hinder him a little bit, right?
It reminds me of Garrett Wilson last year because I had Garrett Wilson, but I feel like defenses key in more on Devontae Adams than, for example, with Garrett Wilson. And I feel like that could be that same case here for the Rams, right? When you either pick your poison between Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua. But I wouldn't put him as 11. I'll put him as 12.
I'll give Puka this. He gets an insane amount of targets. I'm reading some of his stats right now. 14 targets, 9 targets, 13, 8, 14, 8, 9, 14. No less than 8 targets in the last 7 games. He gets an insane amount of targets and an insane amount of catches, right? And Stafford, he likes to hyper target his wide receivers. So he'll just keep on keying in on a guy. So I think that will be safe. I don't think Devontae will cut into it that much, but I do worry that in the red zone, Devontae is the king of that. And I think Stafford will be tempted to throw the fade to Devontae more than he'll throw it to Puka. And he also likes running the ball. McVay likes running the ball at the end zone with Kyren Williams. So if you don't get touchdowns, I'm a little worried. And that's why I'm going to rate Thomas over Neighbors as well, is because I think the Jaguars offense is going to be better at scoring touchdowns than the Giants offense. So, yep, sorry, Dylan. I'm going to have to kick out Puka here. I'm just going to go Neighbors.
No, my Polynesian brother.
Brian Thomas. I mean, we could put him in the last three standing. I'd probably say like Achan, Puka, and Bucky I'd probably go with.
I would also, at a certain point, think about Brock. Maybe after, he'd be like maybe the next three or something, but you know what I mean. He would be like one of the next people I'd put up in this conversation too, you know, in fairness. And I think, you know, maybe we won't really mention them, but Josh Allen and Lamar, you don't think they're find the value of taking a quarterback this early, but someone else might, you know, in your league. So that might just be you if you think that, you know, Josh Allen is irreplaceable, which I mean technically fantasy wise he is, but like, you know,
you'd be a sucker.
It's hard. Yeah.
Don't draft a quarterback in the first round. I'm begging you guys.
Or Hurts, if it's Jalen Hurts.
No, especially if it's Hurts.
No. Yeah. Back to our list. Let's do one last recap, just for everybody that's kind of following along still. We got Jamar, Saquon, Bijan, Jettis, CD. That's our top 5. Going into back-to-back Lions at 6-7. We got Gibbs and St. Brown. And then we got Nico Collins at 8. The big, I'd say, shock to maybe many people maybe. And then we got CMC, Derrick Henry, 9-10, some older running backs. And then we got the 2 LSU guys, the rookies from last year, BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. at 11, and Malik Neighbors at 12. And then our next 3 would probably be some sort of Achan, Puka, and Bucky. So I think that's a pretty nice list, man. I think if you're out there wondering who to take, go based off that list. You probably will do well.
Yeah, and if you want to see the sleeper big board comparison, I'm just going to do a quick rundown here. Jamar Chase first, Saquon Barkley second, Bijan Robinson third. We got it right. Jefferson fourth. Got it right. Gibbs and CeeDee Lamb, they went Gibbs over Lamb. I don't know about that, but 7 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. 8 is Puka Nacua. So, big leap there. 9 is Malik Neighbors. 10 is Derrick Henry. 11 is Ashton Jeanty. 12 is Nico Collins. So BTJ, Christian McCaffrey off the board for them. So I'm thinking we put BTJ and Christian McCaffrey, and we didn't have Jeanty or Puka. So it's only a
Jeanty's too much of a risk.
I would be okay with it. If I was in the 12th
I like Jeanty
pick,
at the second round.
I'd take Jeanty if I was with the 11th or 12th pick. If there was no running backs on the board, these running backs were off the board, I'd take Jeanty. I would do that.
Yeah, if you really wanted one, yeah, but I don't know. I think that if you're talking pure, you know, big board value, I think I like those guys a little bit more in terms of receivers over Jeanty, but running back wise, yeah, he has an argument after, you know, Gibbs to be the next one off the board.
Yeah. All right, that was the first round big board. We did this completely blind, and we still came out with pretty much the consensus, you know, thing. That can kind of show us, you know, that shows a little bit of how our experience goes in these kinds of things. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, consensus are mostly, you know, in a good place to go based off of, you know, but at the end of the day, you got to have your strategies and how to have your do's and don'ts. Follow those more religiously than your big boards, right? And you'll end up drafting a good team, or just listen to what we say.
Yeah. Create your own big board. If you disagree, you should create, swap the names a little bit and see how it ranks out. But, yeah. That'll do it for today's episode of the show. If you want to follow along and listen to more of our episodes, you can always go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts from. You'll find it under Sports Counsel. We have 178 other shows for you to watch. And this is not the first time we've done our draft primer. You can take a look at the previous draft primers, you know, take some insights there. And, you know, we'll continue to have more and more episodes every week. So follow along. Follow our social media, sports_counsel on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, everywhere. So go ahead and do that. This is the latest
Make sure you join the Discord. So if you want to be part of our listener league, announcements will be there first, and then on the podcast after. So if you're like, I want to make sure I get my spot, you got to join the Discord. Otherwise, spots will be taken.
Last time it didn't even make it out of the Discord last time. So I think this year it might be a Discord exclusive. So you might want to get into that Discord because they will get it first. I guarantee you on that. Why? Because I'm going to post it. That'll do it. Anything you want to wrap things up with? One more inappropriate comment?
Fantasy is life.
I don't got anything inappropriate to say at this current moment, but God bless America.
Preseason coming soon, guys. Let's go. Football,
oh, man, finally. I can't wait to bet on it. Wait.
Don't bet on preseason, you degenerate. You could have gotten Trey Lance over 200 passing yards.
Free, man. Free.
I was not.
There's money out there to be made. Go and pick it up.
Yeah, but don't join the Discord if you're a gamble bot. All right? See ya.
Later.